My name is Jessica Van Duyne, and I'm going to be presenting Compassion in MCI, and this is my final presentation for Evidence-Based Design Spring 2019. So, a quick introduction to MCI, which stands for mild cognitive impairment, is that it is a state of cognitive decline relative to baseline. What MCI is not, it is not Alzheimer's disease, which means that it is just relative to somebody's baseline. Often when somebody has MCI, you can't even tell when interacting with them, and it is just that they were able to tell that something was going on, and they're not fully running on all cylinders to them. And it doesn't interfere with their daily life to the degree or anywhere near what Alzheimer's disease does or would. So MCI also affects more than just your brain. In a recent interview with an MCI fellow, which is somebody with MCI, and that's what I'll be referring to people with MCI with throughout the rest of this presentation as fellows. In a recent interview with a fellow and his wife of 22 years, I heard and learned firsthand about the agitation that somebody can experience when they've always been top of their class and now they feel like they're just below average or not quite where they used to be. And also that is in line with what the literature says about agitation, depression, and anxiety going hand in hand with MCI, and depression has actually been shown to exacerbate MCI and different types of like more progressed dementias, which is not MCI. But also the care partners, which are usually your partners in life, and once you have MCI, they become your care partner. They also then have added stress because they have new responsibilities within the relationship and just within your daily lives that they didn't really have before. So meditation and MCI. So studies have actually shown a link between inflammation indicators and people with MCI. And then interestingly, meditation activates the hippocampus, which decreases inflammation and stress. And then a specific form of meditation known as cognitively based compassion training, or CBCT for short, has actually been shown to reduce inflammation indicators, decrease stress, and improve quality of life and relationships. So, quick intro to CBCT is that it was founded in 2005 by Emory University. It is a program of contemplative exercises that are designed to strengthen and sustain compassion. And it generally lasts for about 10 weeks with 6 modules, and that run for about 75 to 90 minutes each. But CBCT is very flexible, and if it needed to last longer, or it even has an included flex session to go over material again if needed. So it's always tuned to the population's needs. So the aims of this study are to research the link between CBCT and MCI using key diagnostic indicators, measuring the hippocampal activity, CRP levels, and cortisol levels, and then also identify the benefits for the fellow's relationship with themselves, the care partner's relationship with themselves, and the relationship between the fellow and the care partner. As for participant selection, the MCI fellows, regardless of whether they have non-amnestic or amnestic, meaning memory or not memory-based MCI, they would be randomly selected into either the control or the intervention group. And if they entered the control, that would mean that they were waitlisted with their care partner, and they would still get their diagnostics taken at the same times as the intervention group. And then MCI fellows that are randomly selected to go into the intervention group would be enrolled in CBCT with their care partner. So inclusion criteria, somebody to be included, the fellow must have MCI and they must have a care partner. Exclusion criteria would be somebody that doesn't have MCI, maybe they are just experiencing normal aging, or they have progressed past MCI where it is getting closer to dementia, and somebody that doesn't have a care partner. As far as outcome measures, clinical diagnostics will be taken 3 times throughout the study. This will be at baseline before anybody is randomly selected to go to the control or intervention. They will be their diagnostics will be taken before that. Also intermediate, which is going to be after week 4, and final which is at the end of week 10. Numeric variables collected during these check-ins, you could call them, would be the MRI of the hippocampus, the blood hormone levels, cortisol, which indicates stress, and then inflammation indicators being the C-reactive protein levels, and then categorical variables being questionnaires measuring depression, loneliness, and quality of life. So quick overview here on the session sequence of the CBCT program. So as I said earlier, it is 10 weeks with 75 to 90 minutes per session. You can see here that there's the intro, and then it moves through different topics, and the self-compassion, which is module 3, that is repeated at least twice because it is kind of the crux of the program. And then there is a flex class, as mentioned earlier, so that if the group wanted to talk more about the empathy and engaged compassion session one more time or go through anything, they had the opportunity. As for the so the program has the in-session component, but it also has the at-home activities, which are going to be guided meditations that the fellows and their care partners should be doing at least 3 times per week. And that will be facilitated by the CBCT app. And that is, you can see here the 3 images are screenshots of the app, and it is pretty straightforward. You see that you can click on it, and it will literally guide you through that module's meditation. So it is really important that people and participants are actually using the CBCT app so that we can have a clear understanding of all the variables that are going into the participants' outcomes. So to track the usage of the app, I've suggested for the study to deploy Google Analytics on the CBCT app, and Google Analytics actually has a user ID feature which allows you to interpret each unique user ID as a separate user, and it also gives you more information about, kind of the usage descriptions, like how long they were actually using the app. Did they just log on or off, or did they do the 15-minute or the 10-minute meditation? Did they actually go on it for 4 or 5 times that week? Or it gives you a much better understanding of how people are using the app and kind of the variables that will go into how their check-ins end up compared to the beginning. And the only thing with the Google Analytics is that it doesn't set up the user ID for you, so you must have your own user ID authentication system, which would be pretty much saying that you have to have your own logon for each participant within the intervention. And I think that is pretty straightforward and it should just make things easier to track whose user ID is who. And yes, measuring compliance. As for the CBCT program staff, we would need the CBCT certified instructor, a care coordinator that would remind the participants about next week's sessions, about the at-home activities, and just kind of keep everyone in the loop. And then also a medical technician that is familiar with MCI so that they are able to facilitate the questionnaires and the check-ins and the clinical diagnostic tests that are ran at each check. So some limitations of this proposal or of the study would be that CBCT, when done in a research setting, is only like 10 to 12 people. So you would have a small number of participants, at least in the intervention, and you would possibly have a small number of participants overall. And you could possibly have a large variable, large P, small n problem. So that is something to be careful of. And then also categorical variables may be subject to reporting bias. So people may not be intentionally misleading you when they write that, they felt less or more of whatever way, depressed or better or less quality of life questions. But people just sometimes have a hard time remembering. So that is one of the reporting biases. And then also, as for further steps, I think it'd be very interesting for the researchers and the participants to create a study where the MCI fellows didn't have the added criteria of a care partner. I think this would widen the pool possibly of MCI fellows to the program, and yes, so I just think it'd be and we would be able to help more people. So that is my research proposal, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. Bye.